Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all. So, poll has been launched. Quickly answer through poll. My audio is clear and my screen is visible. So, this lecture is a paper discussion class. Okay. So, let's start with question number 1. The 6 statements are given. A says the dissolution of the synaptonymal complex in the beginning of this stage. B is terminalization. C is the tendency of the combined homologous chromosome of the bivalents to separate from each other except at the site of crossover. D, the 4 chromatids of each bivalent chromosome become distinct and clearly appears at tetrad. E says egg-shaped structure are formed that are called chiasmata. F, in oocyte of some vertebrate, this stage can last for months or years. How many above statements are related with diplotin stage of prophase 1 of meiosis 1? What do you think what will be the correct option? They're asking with respect to diplotin stage of prophase 1 of meiosis 1. Statement 1 says the dissolution of the synaptonymal complex in the beginning of the stage, yes. In diplotin stage, dissolution of synaptonymal complex occur. B is terminalization. In NCERT, terminalization term is written with respect to chiasmata. The terminalization of chiasmata, it occurs in dikinesis. C, the tendency of the recombined homologous chromosome of the bivalents to separate from each other except at the site of crossover, yes. Because the synaptonymal complex get dissolved and the homologous chromosome, they have the tendency to get separated, but they remain attached at the site of the crossover and they form an egg-shaped structure, which is the chiasmata. So this is also correct. The 4 chromatid of each bivalent chromosome become distinct and clearly appear as tetrad. This is a characteristic of Pachytene stage. Because in zygotine stage, we know that synapsis takes place, synaptonymal complex is formed, and the bivalent and tetrads are formed, which are clearly visible in case of Pachytene stage. But in diplotin stage, dissolution of the synaptonymal complex occur. X-shaped structure are formed that are called chiasmata, yes. In oocyte of some vertebrate, this stage can last for months or years, yes. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 4 statements which are related to the diplotin stage of prophase 1 of meiosis 1. So the correct option is C, which is 4. Moving next. Match the column 1 with column 2. Column 1 has Golgi apparatus, lysosome, vacuole, and ribosome. Column 2 has synthesis of protein, trap waste and excretory product, formation of glycoprotein and glycolipids, digesting biomolecules. Choose the right match from the option given below. What do you think what will be the correct option? Veena, can you modify your answer? Golgi apparatus. Golgi main function is the formation of the glycoprotein and glycolipid. These are the modified proteins and lipids, and they also help in the packaging of the material. So A is third. B, lysosome. Lysosome, they contain the hydrolytic enzymes. Okay, they contain the hydrolytic enzymes. So the function would be digesting biomolecules. Vacuoles, they trap waste and excretory products. And D, ribosome synthesis. D is ribosome, which is a synthesis of protein, because ribosome main function is synthesis of protein. So A3, B fourth, C second, D 1. A3, B4, C2, D1. Correct option is A. Question number 3. Match the column 1 and column 2. Column 1 contains puliform cells, subsidiary cells, companion cell, complementary cells. Column 2 is part of stomatal apparatus, help in maintaining the pressure gradient in the sieve tubes. Lenticels, large empty colorless cells in isobilateral leaves. What do you think? What will be the correct option? Boliform cells, they are present in monocot leaves. And monocot leaf, they are isobilateral leaves. When these boliform cells, they absorb water, the cell become turgid and the leaf surface get exposed. And when these boliform cells, they become flaccid, leaf get curl to reduce the water loss. So you will observe boliform cells in the monocot leaf, which is the isobilateral leaf. So A would be fourth. Because boliform cells, they are large, empty, colorless cells in the isobilateral leaf. B is the subsidiary cells. When few epidermal cells around the guard cells, they get specialized in their shape and in their structure. Those cells are known as subsidiary cells. So they are part of a stomatal apparatus. B first. C is the companion cells. We know that the sieve tubes, they don't have a nucleus on maturity. They have a large vacuole, they have a cytoplasm which is lying towards the periphery, but they don't have a nucleus. So the function of the sieve tubes, they are controlled by the companion cells, because the companion cells, they have nucleus and they help in maintaining the pressure gradient in the sieve tube cells. These companion cells, they are parenchymatous cells. So C second. And also remember one important point, that in gymnosperms, companion cells are not present. Instead of companion cells, you will observe the albuminous cells. Okay? And they don't have a sieve tube, they have sieve cells. Remember this difference. D is complementary cells. The complementary cells, they form lenticels. We know that there's a phallogen is present, right? This phallogen is also known as cock cambium. So this phallogen on the outer side, it produces the cock. On the inner side, it produces the phalloderm, which is the secondary cortex, right? So at some point or at some portion, the phallogen, instead of producing the cock, it produces a thin parenchymatous cells, which are known as complementary cells. And these, let's say this is a phallogen, it keep on producing these parenchymatous cell at some portion instead of forming the cock, and these parenchymatous complementary cells, they put a pressure on the epidermis, because of which the epidermis, it burst out and there's an opening is formed. This opening is known as lenticell. So in woody stem, the gaseous exchange takes place with the help of lenticels. So A4, B1, C2, and D3. A4. Correct option is B. Moving to next question. Select the wrong pair. A is perisperm, remain of endosperm. B is scutellum, shield-shaped cotyledon of grass seed. C is cleistogamy, pollinators are not required for pollination. D is hilum, the attachment point of seed and funicle. Do you have to select the wrong pair? What do you think? What will be the correct option? Very good, Veena. Now you are correct. Perisperm is the remain of nucellus. Okay. And in the seed, where you will find this remnants of nucellus or perisperm, those seeds are known as perispermic seed, like beet seed or black pepper. Cleistogamy, when the flower is not open. That means in cleistogamy, the self-pollination is taking place. That means the pollen or the anther, they are present in close proximity with the stigma, and the flower is not opening, but still there's a seed set is observed because the anther, they are present in close proximity of the stigma. So if the flower is not opening, that means it does not require the pollinator. So in cleistogamy, pollinators are not required for pollination. It is true. Scutellum, shield-shaped cotyledon of the grass seed. Yes. In the grass seed or in the monocot seed, you will observe there is a large single shield-shaped cotyledon is present, which is known as scutellum. And the hilum, if this is the plant ovary, this is a placenta. From the placenta, the funicle is attached, and this funicle is attached to the ovule. So this is an ovule, funicle. We know that on maturation, the ovule, they form the seed, right? The junction where the funicle is attached to the ovule or the seed, that is known as hilum. This junction is known as hilum. So hilum, the attachment point of seed and the funicle. This is also correct. And the question is asking select the wrong pair, which is number 1. That A, the perisperm remain of endosperm is a wrong pair because the perisperm means remains of nucellus. Next question says select the wrong statement. A, both hydrac and xerac succession lead to medium water condition, means that neither too dry xeric or not too wet hydric. B, atmospheric input of phosphorus through rainfall are much smaller than carbon input. C is for ecosystem services, the cost of climate regulation and habitat for wildlife are about 10% each. D, in an aquatic ecosystem, the grazing food chain is the major conduct for the energy flow. They're asking about the wrong statement. What do you think? What will be the correct option? So during succession, some changes occur. These changes includes increase in productivity. For example, if there is a bare rocks, right? First, this bare rock will be converted to soil, and this will be done by the pioneer species, which are lichens. After lichen, then there will be mosses. After mosses, you will observe the annual herbs, then perennial herbs, then shrubs, trees, and or forest. So you will observe the forest is the climax community. So earlier, there will be very less species diversity, but at the climax community, you will observe the high species diversity. And the biomass or the productivity also increases. So that you will observe increase in productivity, you will observe increase in species diversity. And whether it is xerac succession or whether it is hydrac succession, both the succession, they lead to a condition which is called mesic, which is a medium water condition, not too dry, not too wet. Remember this point. So both hydrac and xerac succession lead to a medium water condition, neither too dry nor too wet. Yes, this is correct. B says atmospheric input of phosphorus through rainfall are much smaller than carbon inputs. This is also true because we know that the phosphorus cycle is a sedimentary cycle. The major reservoir of phosphorus, that is the earth crust or the rocks. And the phosphorus is present in the rocks in the form of phosphate. And in the carbon cycle, the major reservoir, they are atmosphere. Second is all, that means B is also true. First, let's discuss D option. In an aquatic ecosystem, the grazing food chain is the major conduction for energy flow. This is also true because in the aquatic ecosystem, one organism will be eaten by the other organism. There will be a predator food chain in case of the ecosystem. But in the terrestrial system, in the terrestrial ecosystem, you will observe that the detritus food chain, they have a major or the larger energy fraction as compared to the grazing food chain. Okay, so remember this point. In aquatic ecosystem, there's a grazing food chain is the major conduction for energy flow. In the terrestrial ecosystem, the detritus food chain is the provide the larger fractions of the energy. Option C says for the ecosystem service, the cost of climate regulation and the habitat for wildlife are 10% each. There's a scientist Rostenza and their colleagues. They provide some price, or they put a price tag for the environmental or the ecosystem services. And the distribution of the price tag include 50% soil formation. Less than 10% recreation. Less than 10% nutrient cycle. 6% habitat for wildlife. 6% climate regulation. And the option it is given for the ecosystem service, the cost of climate regulation and the habitat for wildlife are about 10% each. It is not 10%, it is 6% each. And the question is asking the wrong statement. Wrong statement is C. Moving next, find out the correct statement. A, an increase in body fluid volume stimulate the ADH release. B, a fall in glomerular blood flow can activate the JG cells to release renin. C is angiotensin II being a powerful vasodilator decrease the glomerular blood pressure. D is decrease in blood flow to the atria of the heart can cause the release of the atrial natriuretic factor ANF. They're asking about the correct statement. This question is related to regulation in kidney. So when the blood pressure is low, it is just glomerular cells. They release renin hormone. This renin hormone will convert the angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. This angiotensinogen is produced by liver. Now this angiotensin 1 is converted to angiotensin 2. With the help of angiotensin converting enzyme. Thus angiotensin 2, it acts as a vasoconstrictor. When it acts as a vasoconstrictor, that means it will reduces or narrow the lumen of the vessel. So it will increase the blood pressure. If the blood pressure increases, the glomerular filter rate also increases. This angiotensin 2, It also acts on adrenal cortex. And stimulate the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. And this aldosterone is involved in the reabsorption of the water and sodium in the DCT. So if the water is reabsorbed, that means the blood volume will increase. If the blood volume will increase, the blood pressure also increases and the glomerular filtration rate also increases. This angiotensin 2, it also acts on the hypothalamus thirst center. When you feel thirsty, you will drink water, okay? So it will result in the intake of water. If the water will be intake, then the blood volume will increase, which increase the blood pressure, and the glomerular filtration rate also increases. So option B is saying that a fall in glomerular blood flow can activate the GC cell to release renin. That means it is absolutely correct. Because when the blood pressure is low, that means the glomerular filtration rate is also low, or the glomerular blood flow is also low, because of which the juxtaglomerular cells, they are releases the renin to increase the glomerular filtration rate. C says the angiotensin 2, being a powerful vasodilator, decrease the glomerular blood flow. Angiotensin 2 act as a powerful vasoconstrictor, not a dilator. Okay, remember this. And they decrease the glomerular blood flow? No, they increase the glomerular blood flow, because when they act as a vasoconstrictor, they increasing the blood pressure. When they increase the blood pressure, that means they are increasing the glomerular blood pressure, or the glomerular blood flow, or the glomerular filtration rate also increases. So this is incorrect. Wait, let me. We know that diuresis is the excess loss of the water through urine, right? So in our body, a hormone is released, which is known as ADH, or also the vasopressin, which is an anti-diuretic hormone. So when the excess water is lost through urine, it will activate the hypothalamus osmoreceptors. Now the hypothalamus will signal the pituitary to release the ADH. This ADH, it is involved in the reabsorption of the water, or the conditional reabsorption of the water and electrolyte to maintain the body fluid volume. When it reabsorbs the water, that means the blood volume will increase. Blood volume will increase, blood pressure will increase, the glomerular filtration rate also increases. And in the option A, it is written that an increase in body fluid volume stimulate the ADH release. No, decrease in body fluid volume stimulate the ADH release. Decrease in body fluid volume means a large amount of water is lost through the urine. That means that at that time, the ADH will be released to reabsorb the water. So it will increase the blood volume. So this is also incorrect. Now we know that in both the mechanism, the blood pressure is increasing. Here also blood pressure is increasing, blood pressure increases here also, right? So at that time, there's ANF is released, which is a atrial natriuretic factor from the heart wall to, and this ANF act as a vasodilator. So it will lower the blood pressure. So in option D, it is written decrease in blood flow. That decrease in the blood flow to the atria, the heart can cause the release of the atrial natriuretic factors. And the question asking is the find out the correct statement. So the correct statement is B, that a fall in glomerular blood flow can activate the AG cells to release renin. Okay, so the correct option is B. Because in the D it is written decrease in the blood flow to the atria, decrease ni renin, this atrial natriuretic factor will be released when there is an increase in the blood flow. This is also incorrect. So the correct option is B. I've discussed all the options, why they are incorrect. Please remember these mechanisms. These are important, okay? Next is given below is the diagrammatic representation of one of the categories of small molecular weight organic compound in the given tissue. Identify the category shown and the one blank component X in it. A says category cholesterol, component X is guanine. B is category amino acid, component X is amino. C is category nucleotide, component X is adenine. D is category nucleoside, component X is uracil. Very good, Veena. This is a diagram of ribose sugar. And we know that ribose sugar is present in RNA, right? Because on the second and the third carbon, you can see hydroxyl group is present. And in RNA, uracil is present instead of thymine. X is the nitrogenous base. So, sugar plus base, they form the nucleoside. Remember this. So it's not a cholesterol, it's not an amino acid, it's not a nucleotide because there's no phosphate group. So it's not a nucleotide, it's a nucleoside because there's only a sugar and X is the nitrogenous base. So it's a nucleoside and X is uracil because the ribose sugar, and ribose sugar is present in RNA. So the correct option is D. Stunted growth along with mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skin, deaf mutism is related with A, over excretion of growth hormone, B is hyposecretion of thyroxine, C is hyposecretion of growth hormone, D is hyposecretion of insulin. Oversecretion of growth hormone, they will lead to a giganteum disease. Hyposecretion of growth hormone will lead to dwarfism. Now, hyposecretion of thyroxine. We know that the thyroid gland, They produces two hormones, T3 and T4, right? If there's a hyposecretion or deficiency of T3 and T4 by birth, then it leads to cretinism. Cretinism means stunted growth, mental retardation, low IQ. This you will observe when there's a hyposecretion of the T3 and T4 by birth. If there's a hyposecretion, T3 and T4 after puberty, then it leads to a disease which is known as myxedemia. Myxedemia, it will lead to low metabolism and weight gain. If there's a hypersecretion of T3 and T4, they will lead to a grave disease, which is an autoimmune disorder. It will lead to high metabolism and weight loss. So stunted growth along with mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skill, deaf mutism is related with the hyposecretion of thyroxine. Hyposecretion of insulin. If the insulin is secreted in a very low amount, that means the glucose level will increase. That means it will lead to a hyperglycemic condition. And the disease is known as diabetes mellitus. Remember these points. Which of the following is the innovative remedy for the plastic waste? A is burning in the absence of oxygen. B is burning 500 meter deep below soil surface. C is polyblend. D is electrostatic precipitator. Question is asking which of the following is the innovative remedy for the plastic waste? Very good, Veena. So polyblend is a fine powder of modified recycled plastic. This polyblend is mixed with bitumen. Bitumen is the material used to lay the roads. So this polyblend and bitumen, they are mixed together and they are used to form road. And these roads, they have a high water resistant property because of the presence of this polyblend. And the life of the road also increase. So the correct option is C. Now look at the other option as well. Burning in the absence of oxygen. Burning in the absence of oxygen is known as pyrolysis. And it is involved in solid waste management. He is burning 500 meter deep below the soil surface. This is for radioactive waste. Electrostatic precipitator is to control air pollution. Question 10 says, in the dicot route, the vascular cambium originate from A, the tissue located below the phloem bundles and a portion of pericycle tissue above protoxylem. B is cortical region. C is parenchyma between the endodermis and pericycle. D is intrafascicular and interfascicular tissue in a ring. They're asking about the dicot route. In dicot route, vascular cambium arises from the pericycle plus some tissue below the phloem bundle. And please remember that this vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin. Cortical region, they form Koch cambium by dedifferentiation. And this Koch cambium, it forms Koch on the outer side and secondary cortex on the inner side. And this Koch, secondary cortex, Koch cambium, they all collectively form the periderm. These intrafascicular cambium or interfascicular cambium. Fascicular means vascular bundle. Okay. These you will observe in case of dicot stem. In dicot stem, you will observe the intrafascicular cambium and fascicular cambium also. Intrafascicular cambium, this is a vascular bundle. The cambium which is present within the vascular bundle. This is the intrafascicular cambium. And this cambium is primary in origin. Remember this because it is forming from the procambium. But this interfascicular cambium, the cambium which is present between the two vascular bundles. And these interfascicular cambium is formed by the dedifferentiation of the medullary rays. And it is secondary in origin. And the question asking in the dicot route, the vascular cambium originate from, it's A, the tissue located below the phloem bundle and a portion of pericycle tissue above the protoxylem. From the following, identify the correct group of features of genetic code. A is universal, non-ambiguous, overlapping. B, degenerate, overlapping, commaless. C, universal, ambiguous, degenerate. D is degenerate, non-overlapping, non-ambiguous. Genetic code is universal. For example, if this UUU, it's a codon, it codes for phenylalanine. This code, even if it's present in bacteria, it will code for phenylalanine. Even if it is present in humans, it will code for phenylalanine. So that means it is universal. Genetic code is degenerate or show degeneracy. Degeneracy means when more than one codon, they code for the same amino acid, like UUU and UUC. They are the different codon, but they are coding for the same amino acid, that is phenylalanine. So it is called as degenerate. Non-ambiguous. Non-ambiguous means that each codon, they code for a specific amino acid. and non-overlapping. If let's say this is a mRNA, this is codon 1, this is codon 2, this is codon 3, right? This G is a part of this codon. It can't be a part of this codon, the codon number second. So it should be non-overlapping. These are the properties of genetic code. Please remember this, okay? It's important. From the following, identify the correct group. It is universal, it is non-ambiguous, it is non-overlapping. So this is incorrect. Universal, it is non-ambiguous. B, degenerate, it is non-overlapping. Degenerate, non-overlapping, non-ambiguous. D is the correct option. Pyrogyra ulethrics show common features that are A, both have colonial thallus and show haplontic life cycle, both show isogamy and ribbon-shaped chloroplast, both have filamentous thallus and show zygotic meiosis, both are green algae and have flagellated gametes. Pyrogyra and ulethrics, they both are green algae. They both are filamentous. In Spirogyra, the gametes, they are similar in size, but they are non-flagellated. Ulothrix, they are similar in size, but it is flagellated. In Spirogyra, the chloroplast shape is ribbon-like. In Ulothrix, the chloroplast shape is girdle. Girdle means band-shaped, like this. Now let's look at the option. A says both have colonial thallus. No, they have filamentous thallus. B, both show isogamy and ribbon-shaped chloroplast. No, they show isogamy, but the Spirogyra, they have ribbon-shaped chloroplast. By Ulothrix, they have girdle-shaped chloroplast. D, both are green algae. Yes, they are green algae. They have flagellated gametes. No. The Spirogyra, they have non-flagellated gametes, and Ulothrix, they have flagellated gametes. C, both have filamentous thallus. Yes, they have. They show zygotic meiosis. Yes, they show zygotic meiosis. Okay, see, this is a gametophyte. This gametophyte will bear the sex organ antheridium and oogonium. They will produce anthrozoid. The oogonium will produce egg. They will fuse. They will form zygote. In this zygote undergo meiosis and will produce a haploid spore. So this, because the meiosis is taking place in zygote, so it's known as zygotic meiosis. And this spores, again, they will germinate and form the gametophyte. Okay. So the correct option is C. Intracellular receptor molecule is not required for the action of A, progesterone, B, thyroxine, C, glucocorticoid, and D, FSH. We know that there are two types of hormone. The peptide hormone, and these are water-soluble hormone. And the steroid hormone, they have intracellular receptor. And the peptide hormone, they have membrane-bound receptor. Because the peptide hormone, they're water-soluble hormone, and we know that the membrane, they are phospholipid bilayer. So these peptide hormone, they cannot easily cross the membrane. So the receptor, they are present on the membrane. That is why the peptide hormone, they have a membrane-bound receptor. Remember this. And the steroid hormone, they have intracellular receptor because they're steroid, they're lipid in nature. They can easily cross the membrane. So their receptor are present within the cell. They have intracellular receptor. And FSH is a follicle stimulating hormone. It is a peptide hormone. Here's the list of certain enzymes used in biotechnology with the function. Match them in a correct sequence. A is DNA ligase. B is restriction endonuclease. C is alkaline phosphatase. D is chitinase. Function are break cell wall, prevent rejoining of ends of DNA, cut DNA at specific site, join pieces of DNA. DNA ligase, remember that DNA ligase is a molecular glue, right? If there's a present glue word, that means it is going to join. Very good, Veena. So DNA ligase, it will join the pieces of DNA. Restriction endonuclease, it will cut. Restriction endonuclease, remember it's a molecular scissor. So scissor function is to cut. So it will cut the DNA at specific sites. So B3. C, alkaline phosphate, it prevent the rejoining of ends of DNA because it removes the phosphate from the 5' end. So it prevents the rejoining of ends of DNA. So C2. And D is chitinase. We know that in the organism like fungi, the cell wall are made up of chitin. So to break the cell wall, chitinase enzyme is required. So D1. Fourth, B3, C2, D1. So correct option is A. Which statement is wrong? Auxin promote the abscission of the older mature leaves and fruits, spraying juvenile conifer with the gibberellic acid, fasten the maturity period and thus leading to early seed production. C is cytokinin induced flowering in mango. D is ABA helps seeds to withstand desiccation and other factors unfavorable for growth. They're asking about the wrong statement. First is the auxin promote abscission of the older mature leaves and fruit. Yes, it is true. They promote the abscission of the older mature leaves and fruit, but prevent the falling of the young leaves and fruit. Please remember other features of auxin as well, that it is involved in apical dominance, promote flowering in pineapple, involved in xylem differentiation, induce parthenocarpy, Now, B says spraying juvenile conifers with gibberellic acid fasten the maturity period and thus leading to early seed production. Yes, it's true. other features of gibberellin, please remember that GA3 is first discovered. These gibberellic acid, they increase the sugar cane yield because they are involved in internodal elongation. C says cytokinin induce flowering in mango. No, ethylene is induced. Ethylene induced flowering in mango. Please remember this, not cytokinin. Cytokinin is involved in rapid cell division. Promote nutrient mobilization. Overcome apical dominance. He says that ABA helps seed to withstand desiccation, another factor unfavorable for growth. Yes, this is also true. And the question is asking which statement is wrong. Is C, that cytokinin induced flowering in mango. It's ethylene which induced flowering in mango. Ethylene also induced flowering, female flowers in the pineapple. Which of the following is not a feature of the active transport of solute in plants? Active transport, it requires ATP. It is highly selective. It involves carrier proteins. That is why it is highly selective. Transport gets saturated when these carrier protein are all occupied. The movement is uphill, which is against the concentration gradient. So question is asking which of the following is not a feature of active transport of solute in plants? Requirement of carrier protein, it is a feature. Requires ATP, it is a feature. Highly selective, it is a feature. Lack of transport saturate, this is not a feature of active transport of solute in plants. Okay, because active transport, they do have transport saturate. Which of the following is not an example of mutualism? A says mycorrhiza and pinus. B is yucca and moth. C is sea anemone and clownfish. D is female wasps and fig species. So mycorrhiza and pinus, they show mutualism. Yucca and moth, they also shows mutualism. Female wasps and fig species, they also shows mutualism. Sea anemone and clownfish, they show commensalism because the one species, yes, very good, Veena, because the one species is getting the benefit and the other species is unaffected, does not get any benefit. The correct option is C. It's already 6. We are winding up the class. I hope this lecture was informative for you. Thank you all for your participation. Thank you all and see you in the next class.